The number of Iraqi refugees returning from neighboring countries has slowed to a trickle in recent months, and 70% of those who have returned cannot get back into their homes. Kathleen Newland of the Migration Policy Institute explains why.
The redrawn sectarian map has a lot to do with the reasons that people aren't able to get back into their own houses. If they were living in mixed neighborhoods that have now become primarily one confession or another, either Sunni or Shia, then they don't feel comfortable going back.
Newland says that in parts of Baghdad, mixed neighborhoods are now separated by walls, divided into separate Sunni and Shiite enclaves.
I talked to a Christian family that had gone back and went to see some of their neighbors whom they were friendly with, and their neighbor said, please don't try to go back to your house, it's occupied, they'll kill you.
Surveys partly funded by the United Nations show that many returnees find shelter in makeshift homes or huddle with relatives, but many lack employment and need additional support.
They have high expectations about education and health care, secondary health care, not just warding off epidemics, but getting treatment for their diabetes and their high blood pressure and their heart conditions and things like that.
Rebuilding basic infrastructure remains a huge problem for Iraq, says the executive director of the Education for Peace in Iraq Center, Eric Gustafson.
There's a tremendous amount of infrastructure that is just not in place to handle large numbers of, or a large-scale return of refugees and IDPs. There aren't mechanisms to handle property disputes, for example. What happens if you return to your home and somebody else is in it?
Gustafson says Baghdad is building new housing for returnees, but the government has not established procedures for resolving property disputes.
And unfortunately, the Iraqi government, there's just a challenge of having the capacity to get all of that done as rapidly as needed if there were large-scale returns.
Gustafson and many other analysts say it will be years before Iraq can resettle large numbers of returning refugees. Aida, VOA News, Washington.